Buddha Taught by Walpola Rahula. Chapter 3, The Second Noble Truth, Samudaya, the Arising of Dukkha. The second noble truth is that of the arising or origin of dukkha. Dukkhasamudaya Ariyasacca. The most popular and well-known definition of the second truth is found in innumerable places. In the original text runs as follows: it is this thirst, craving, tanha, which produces re-existence and re-becoming, ponobhavika, and what is bound up with passionate greed, nandiraggasahagata, and which finds fresh delight now here and now there, tatra binandini, namely thirst for sensual pleasures, kama tanha, thirst for existence and becoming, bhava tanha, and thirst for non-existence, self-annihilation, vibhava tanha. It is this thirst, desire, greed, craving, manifesting itself in various ways that gives rise to all forms of suffering and the continuity of beings. But it should not be taken as the first cause, for there is no first cause possible, as according to Buddhism, everything is relative and interdependent. Even this thirst, tanha, which is considered as the cause or origin of dukkha, depends for its arising, samudaya, on something else, which is sensation, vedana, and sensation arises depending on contact, phassa, and so on and so forth goes the circle, which is known as conditioned genesis. Paticca samuppada, which we'll discuss later. So tanha, thirst, is not the first or only cause of the arising of dukkha, but it is the most palpable and immediate cause, the principal thing and all-pervading thing. Hence, in certain places of the original Pali text themselves, the definition of samudaya, or the origin of dukkha, includes all other defilements and impurities, klesa, sasaba, dhamma, in addition to tanha, thirst, which is always given in the first place. When the necessary limited space of our discussion, within the necessary limited space for our discussion, it will be sufficient if we remember that this thirst has its center the false idea of self-arising out of ignorance. Here the term thirst indicates not only desire for and attachment to sense pleasures, wealth, and power, but also desire for and attachment to ideas and ideals, views, opinions, theories, conceptions, and beliefs. Dhamma tanha. According to the Buddha's analysis, all the troubles and strife in the world, from little personal quarrels in families to great wars between nations and countries, arise out of the selfish thirst. From this point of view, all economic, political, and social problems are rooted in this selfish thirst. Great statesmen who try to settle international disputes and talk of war and peace only in economical and political terms touch the superficialities and never go deep to the real root of the problem. As the Buddha told Ratapala, the world lacks and hankers and is enslaved to thirst, tanhadaso. And so that's definitely one of the interesting things, is that it's this idea that yourself, the nafs as the Arabs would call it, the wash becomes a wash beast when it's, oh, I'm living for myself and my body and my role and all this other stuff. And it's like, well, okay, but if you consider yourself as on lender and a purpose to fulfill, maybe that's not the best way to articulate, but if you see yourself as devoted to the cause, whatever the cause may be, and okay. Everyone will admit that all the evils in the world are produced by selfish desire. You know, as the Quran says, the worst false god is the self. It is not difficult to understand, but how this desire, thirst can produce re-existence, re-becoming. Pano bhavika, longer A at the end, is a problem not so easy to grasp. It is here that we have to discuss the deeper philosophical side of the second noble truth, corresponding to the philosophical side of the noble truth, first noble truth. Here we must have some idea about the theory of karma and rebirth. There are 4 nutriments, ahara, in the sense of the cause or condition necessary for the existence and continuity of beings. I'm fumbling my words, aren't I? Ordinary material food, kabal in kara hara. Is the dot of the end there? Is that the contact of our sense organs, including mind, with the external world? Pasahara. Sense organs, including mind, with external world. Oh, pasahara, external world. Okay. Consciousness, vinyahara, and mental volition or will, mano san chetanahara. I'm not used to the sound combinations, so that's why maybe I should learn Sanskrit and Pali and stuff. I haven't been learning too much in terms of language in recent years. Maybe I should pick that back up. Of these 4, the last mentioned, mental volition, is the will to live, to exist, to re-exist, to continue, to become more and more. It creates the roof of existence and continuity, striving forward by the way of good and bad action. Kusalakama. It is the same as volition, chetana. We have seen earlier that volition is karma, as the Buddha himself has defined it, referring to mental volition is just mentioned above, and the Buddha says, when one understands the nutriment of mental volition, one understands the 3 forms of thirst, tanha. Thus the terms thirst, volition, mental volition, and karma all denote the same thing. They denote the desire, the will to be, to exist, to re-exist, to become more and more, to grow more and more, to accumulate more and more. This is the cause of the rising of dukkha, and this is found within the aggregate of mental formations, one of the 5 aggregates which constitutes a being. Now, part of the way to deal with this is living in the moment, but living in the moment for a different say, not living in the moment as those consequences that I would. No. That's not saying what we're saying. I'm saying here. Here's one of the most important and essential points in the Buddha's teachings. We must therefore clearly and carefully mark and remember that the cause, the germ, the rising of dukkha is within the dukkha itself, and not outside. We must equally remember that the cause, the germ, the cessation of dukkha, or of the destruction of dukkha, is also within the dukkha itself, and not outside. This is what is meant by the well-known formula often found in original Pali text, yam kincha samudayadammam sabbam tam nirodhadammam. Whatever is of the nature of arising, all that is of the nature of cessation. A being, a thing, or a system, if it has within itself the nature of arising, the nature of coming into being, it also has within itself the nature, the germ of its own cessation and destruction. Thus, dukkha, 5 aggregates, has within itself the nature of its own arising, and has also within itself the nature of its own cessation. This point will be taken up again in the discussion of the 3rd noble truth, nirodha. So, we see on the Devil tarot card, right? These 2 people, they tend to be chained in a way, but it seems like, they could get out of that. And they could. So the evil and the ignorance that you're supposed to turn from meets with the good and truth in the same object, you can say, or the same situation. So you choose the one versus the other. Okay, it's interesting to compare the mental volition with libido in modern psychology. Mano sanchatana te chatana eba uchate is a variation of something that we've gone over here. The three forms of thirst are the thirst for sense pleasures, thirst for existence and becoming, thirst for non-existence, as given the definition of Samudaya arising of dukkha above. So the thirst for non-existence, could we see that in the anticosmic, misanthropic sort of current, whether it's turned upon the self or whether it's turned on others, mainly? People always talk about their ascent. It's like, but, or their descent or whatever. But better than becoming is, the contentment in, acting how one should act, again, in the moment. And often, as I find with meditation, spiritual studies, and stuff like this, is the sensual enjoyments in life. If you eat in balance, you get your right exercise, you're performing your rituals. But if you're sitting around, I want to feel like I'm on heroin. Yeah, I want to, that my gestures for that one were off, but more like, give me the drugs, give me the, maybe that'd be a crackhead or a meth addict or something, but anyways, honestly, when it's like you blast your music, you think, oh, well, I really like this, I'm going to turn it up. It's like, well, the overall cost, and you end up enjoying your life more. Maybe you don't listen to so much music and so much TV. Or, there's other things that people could do. But, when you become disciplined, there's joy that comes in that you would never expect, and sometimes it's greater than spent. Why did I not give this up earlier, cut back earlier? Now the Pali word kama, or the Sanskrit word karma, from the root kur, to do, literally means action, doing. But in the Buddhist theory of karma, it has a specific meaning. It means not only volitional action, not all action, nor does it mean the result of karma, as many people wrongly and loosely use it. In Buddhist terminology, karma never meant its effect. Its effect is known as the fruit or the result of karma. Kamma, pala, or kamma, vipaka. Volition may relatively be good or bad, just as a desire may relatively be good or bad. So karma may be good or bad relatively. Good karma, kusala, produces good effects, and bad karma, akusala, produces bad effects. Thirst, volition, karma, whether good or bad, has one force as its effect, force to continue in a good or bad direction. Whether good or bad, it is relative, and within the cycle of continuity, samsara. An arahant, though he acts, does not accumulate karma, because he is free from the false idea of self, free from the thirst for continuity and becoming, free from all other defilements and impurities. Kilesa sasava dhamma. For him, there is no rebirth. The theory of karma should not be confused with the so-called moral justice or reward or punishment. The idea of moral justice or reward or punishment arises out of the conception of a supreme being, a God who sits in judgment, who is a lawgiver, and who decides what is right and wrong. The term justice is ambiguous and dangerous, and in its name more harm than good is done to humanity. The theory of karma is the natural law of cause and effect, of action and reaction. It is a natural law which has nothing to do with the idea of justice or reward or punishment. Every volitional action produces its effects or results. If good action produces good effects and a bad action produces bad effects, it is not justice or reward or punishment meted out by anybody or any power setting a judgment on your actions. But this is in virtue of its own nature, its own law. This is not difficult to understand, but what is difficult is that, according to karma theory, The effects of a volitional action may continue to manifest themselves even in life after death. Here we have to explain what death is according to Buddhism. We have seen earlier that a being is nothing but a combination of physical and mental forces or energies. What we call death is the total non-functioning of the physical body. Do all these forces and energies stop together, altogether, with the non-functioning of the body? Buddhism says no. Will, volition, desire, thirst to exist, to continue to become more and more, is a tremendous force that moves whole lives, whole existences, and even moves the whole world. This is the greatest force, the greatest energy in the world. According to Buddhism, this force does not stop with the non-functioning of the body, which is death, but it continues manifesting itself in another form, producing re-existence, which is called rebirth. And so, the interior of the cave temple from Dambulla, Ceylon, and all my trips up to the 8th cave in Mount St. Helens was, I would definitely Great Renunciation, Ananda Temple of Burma, the Buddha from Mathura, India, and the Buddha from China. And so, just like Jesus takes on some different physical characteristics as is either ideal or is, how the culture is. But as a symbol, things are more static, I guess, although you do have some inflections when you use a human form or animal form or something symbolically. But, so. Now another question arises: if there is no permanent, unchanging entity or substance like self or soul, Atman, what is it that can re-exist or be reborn after death? Before we go on to life after death, let us consider what this life is and how it continues now. What we call life, as we have so often repeated, is the combination of the 5 aggregates, a combination of physical and mental energies. These are constantly changing. They do not remain the same for 2 consecutive moments. Every moment they are born and they die. When the aggregates arise, decay, and die, Opiku, every moment you are born, decay, and die. Thus, even now, during this lifetime, every moment we are born and die, but we continue. If we can understand that in this life we can continue without a permanent, unchanging substance like self or soul, why can't we understand that these forces themselves can continue without a self or soul behind them or after the non-functioning of the body? So, I think, one of the things that's mentioned in the Quran, it's mentioned in some Vedic texts too, is the testimony of your body. But not just your body, the parts of your body. It's like, why the skin in particular? It's like you're losing cells constantly. Every moment, something in you dies. Every moment, your consciousness, the way your mind works isn't exactly the same from one time to the other. Sometimes there's improvement in your overall state as you get older, even though your mind's not flexible and learning oriented as much. But when this physical body is no more capable of functioning, energies do not die with it, but continue to take some other shape or form, which we call another life. But the Greeks, who believed in reincarnation apparently before the so-called Hindus, as far as the evidence we have, their idea of reincarnation was based upon the bodies that decay or are eaten and become part of other bodies, which opened the doors to Scientology, didn't it? In a child, all the physical, mental, and intellectual faculties are tender and weak, but they have within them the potentiality of producing a full-grown man. Physical and mental energies which constitute the so-called being have within themselves the power to take a new form and grow gradually and gather force to the full. Kandasu, Dayamanasu, Jimananasu, Miyamane tu cha, Kane kane tapam, Biku, Dayasi cha, Jiyasi cha, Miyase cha. This is quoted in the Paramatta Jyotika commentary as the Buddha's own words, so far as I have not been able to trace this passage back to its original text. As there is no permanent, unchanging substance, nothing passes from one moment to the next. So quite obviously, nothing permanent or unchanging can pass or transmigrate from one life to the next. It is a series that continues unbroken, but changes every moment. The series, really speaking, nothing but movement. It is like the flame that burns through the night. It is not the same flame, nor is it another. A child grows up to be a man of 60. Certainly the man of 60 is not the same as the child of 60 years ago, nor is he another person. Similarly, a person who dies here and is reborn elsewhere is neither the same person nor another. Na cha so na cha anno. No. Is that how you say that? It is the continually of, this na cha so na cha anno. It is the continuity of the same series. The difference between death and birth is only a thought moment. The last thought moment in this life conditions the first thought moment in the so-called next life, which in fact is the continuity of the same series during this life itself too. One thought moment conditions the next thought moment. So far, from the Buddhist point of view, the question of life after death is not a great mystery, and a Buddhist is never worried about this problem. As long as there is this thirst to be and to become, the cycle of continuity, samsara, goes on. It can stop only when its driving force, the thirst, is cut off through wisdom, which sees reality, truth, nirvana. So, are you ready for the return? The return being the one of the names for God in Arabic, al-Masir. The return to which, stop clinging now. Live this life for itself. Live this life for whatever situation life is presented. But when you, I should have, and all that other stuff, if's a big one to stay away from. If, you don't know. You don't know all the conditions. I've heard of cases of people that have turned their lives around, and instead of going to use their drug of choice and involve themselves in other debauchery, they decided, I'm going to eat right, and I'm going to not involve myself in all that stuff. And maybe there were other things in their life, but they literally made a choice to go somewhere. Okay, instead of buying junk food that night, they went somewhere a little different and bought just regular food at the grocery store, and they died as a result. Now, you're probably going to live longer, but again, it's not about living longer. It's not per se about learning things. Definitely you want to try to learn things. Just be who you are.